Of course, the white fat want to make fun of Candace
people keep
Owens.
calling us fat, and I'm like, for one thing, I got chicken arms legs. I'm not fat, dude. All right, sit down. Yeah, and this dude goes to the gym like 9 times a week. So like, all right, calm down.
No. I'm a thick boy.
You're a thick boy, but also,
I'm a thick boy.
but it's muscle. You're cultivating mass.
I'm a strong thick boy. Okay, well, I just genetically also just have like a really like fat neck.
I think I got face fat, but I'm chicken armed and leg, dude. I'm pretty thin.
You're literally not fat. No. Like you're like if you lost 10 pounds, I'd be like you have to eat more.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
No, it did not hurt.
I don't give a fuck.
I am immune to internet comments.
Here's the thing. A lot of people let this really get to them.
No.
But like the moment they stop replying with a comment trying to argue or reason with you that they are correct, and the moment they start
go to like an ad hoc,
just fucking like, well, you guys are fucking fat.
Yeah.
Well, he's like, the fat people are talking.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you have nothing of context to say, so I'm just gonna take it as I
call
win.
Yeah, it's an ad hoc fallacy, right? When it's a personal attack.
Yeah, I believe so.
It's one of the like debate tactics of like you've lost a debate when you attack.
Well, you're ugly.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, you've lost all credibility, and then I don't take any of these comments personally, but I've just noticed that anytime we criticize right wing,
fat. It's always like the first thing they say.
It's either fat phobic or like body shaming, or it's classist, like get a job or whatever, and it's just like, and that also is very telling of the right wing.
Hey, this is the future us. From an hour later that we forgot to say, subscribe this, you freaking beautiful person, you, and like and comment. And we're back into our slot. Welcome, my beautiful comrades, to the great episode 25.
25. We're old enough to rent a car now. Nice.
Yeah.
In the United States. Yeah, episode 25. We are a quarter of the way to 100. And that's all right.
We're catching up, deprogram. Watch out.
We'll get you. We'll get you.
No, they're just like, they're pulling out ahead, man. They're pulling out ahead.
I think they did 125 today.
Oh yeah, there are 100 episodes in front of us. Like they would have to like skip 2 years just for us to catch up, which means this podcast will be going forever and ever. And
they have to. We have to kneecap them or something somehow. I'm just adding my final touches. This is the quote from the Russian UN ambassador, but we'll get to that in a second.
All right.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second.
All right. Well, welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome. Yeah, my brain's kind of dead. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a long week. We're recording on Thursday instead of Wednesday. There has been a lot of stuff that's been going on in the past
busy week. Bunch of random shit happened.
Yeah. So I mean, we're going to do episode 25 as like some big episode. But I think I realized that like our big things that we want to work on should be more video essays, video vlogs.
Yeah, we don't want to. We kind of decided that we don't want them to be like rolled into a regular just like podcast episode because sometimes the podcast episodes, are also used for audio for one, and they're just more casual and more like conversational. Yes. We have these ideas for these things we want to do, but we want to save them to kind of do more of the typical like talking head video essay type thing. Yeah, so it will take a second to start getting those out. I think I finally stabilized in like a nice schedule of getting. Don't die. Like it's a nice schedule of like finally like stabilized podcast routine of like every week we do this. Kind of got it finally down to the science. If you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. And so, hopefully we'll get one of those out. I'm not gonna say for sure, but we might have something to do with Lenin later, sooner or later. Yeah. I mean, I think we can now officially say that it is happening because we've promised some people that we have to deliver. So we've kind of trapped ourselves. So we have to deliver. So yeah, there will be something coming late October, possibly in time for someone's special birthday.
Is it October?
No, what did I say? Did I say October?
I swear to God, you said October.
I'm in April, late April.
Yeah. It's just like, goddamn, that's like...
There's something, we're working on something really cool. We're working with a local person that's also very cool. Some of you may know her.
We'll keep it.
We'll keep it under wraps.
We got to build tension.
We got to build tension. But we're working on something really cool we're going to be releasing in late April. So now that we've committed to it, both here and with people, we have to actually do it. That's okay. I have a lot of break coming up. I have spring break coming up. I have a 3-day weekend this weekend. So I got some time to actually catch up on the writing portion that I've been so neglecting. I promised a rough draft last week, and I haven't really started it. So
yeah, no, you're all good, man. I mean, I am a procrastinator regardless. So that's how I work efficiently.
Yeah, I'm like that was me in college, like right, like
my whole life, man.
I graduated college with a 4.0, not to brag, but I did. And the way I did that was waiting till the very last minute
and just banging out like a 20-page paper on a Sunday before it was due, like at midnight. And that's
I was
just
like
how
a
I get done.
3.0, man. How do you get fucking 4.0?
I don't know. I was working full time too.
You're working full time.
Oh yeah, baby.
You
and
must
I was
have,
taking
like, some silver tongue.
I
like,
was taking 15 to 18 credits a semester, so I was at 5 to 6 classes a semester.
Dude, that's fucking crazy. How the hell did you do that?
Yeah,
maybe I was just fucking lazy as fuck in college. And yeah, like honestly, congrats.
I think I'm just good at school. That's it. It's like it's definitely a skill like anything else, and it's something I think I can brag about because it's a learned skill, and it's just like I'm not good in the real world, but like I'm good in school. So there you go.
Yeah,
like, I understand the rules of academia, and I know how to play the game, and I'm good at writing, and I think that's kind of really what it boils down to. I had a humanities degree, I got a history and an education like double major, and so it was like a lot of writing. I think my last 2 semesters of college, I wrote like a combined like 200 plus pages of like between all the papers. I wrote like 20, 30, 40, 50 page papers like in different classes at a time. And I'm good at writing, so that's really what helped. Because that was all. I never had a math class. I never had a science class. I had like biology 101. I had like math 101. I had none of it. I was humanities all the way, baby. My like final 2 semesters of college, I was taking like multiple history courses and multiple education courses, and that was it.
Yeah, no, I see. I graduated like a 3.0.
Yeah.
And because I have a degree in anthropology with like a discipline area of archaeology, so it like focuses on archaeology. But let me tell you, I can't. It's not that I can't write papers. It's just like I didn't care enough, man. I realized like my last year of college is like this is not what I want to do. Like I'm watching all these people do like archaeological type of work, write articles, write this, and I'm like, bro, I fucking hate this. Like this is not for me. And I was like so into politics back then. Like this is like 2017.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so I'm like, God, this is just not for me. So I finished college regardless with an archaeology degree because I just had to, because I'm like, I'm already like fucking 4 years in, and it took me like 6 years to finish. Right. I got a minor in geography, but yeah, it was rough. But when I finally finished, I didn't even go. I've never had a job in archaeology, and if you can even find one, that's the thing.
Yeah, I don't. You'd have to go and like. I know one archaeologist actually. They're pretty cool. I think I may have mentioned them like on the first or second episode.
Yeah,
they're an old friend from Tucson, and they're like a bona fide like archaeologist, like out in Egypt or whatever with the toothbrush digging.
Yeah, my archaeology that I specified in, which is not my favorite, is like Native American archaeology, especially from the Pacific Northwest. And it's just like no insult to the people from the Pacific Northwest. It's just not my cup of tea. I love ancient European, Middle Eastern, North African, like that old world type of archaeology,
just like Western Civ or not Western Civ, but like just world history kind of.
Yeah. And it's just like that's
what I got. My history is in just general world history, so that's kind of more my speed.
And I was just like, I'm like didn't want to get into it, so I bounce around from job to job, and then I'm like, dude, I'm gonna do what I'm passionate about. That's politics, so that's where I am here. I mean, I would love a career in like this.
Yeah,
this would be like the career for me.
It'd be nice if it like paid the bills for sure. I mean, I still love education. That's why I start my master's in a month. I'm going back to get a master's.
I mean, I work in science, so I still love like what I do. You know.
Yeah. I like school. I want to go back to school. I'm going back to school. I start my master's in a little over a month to get a master's in special education, so I can transition to teaching special education for those little kiddos that need that extra help. So that's kind of what I'm into. But I still want to continue on. I want to get a PhD. I almost went straight for a PhD at University of Washington. Last year, I was looking into the degree requirements to just go all the way and get a PhD in world history from UW. I decided not to, just because I wasn't ready to commit that amount of time. So I'm starting with this master's, but this master's is only a year program because I had extra credits. That it doesn't matter. But it's only 3 semesters. I'm doing summer, fall, spring. Yeah. So I'm doing it just.
That's so nice. It's like 3 quarters.
No, it's 3 full semesters, so it's going to be a real
okay. A year and a half then.
Well, I'll graduate next spring, so it'll be like graduate next May. Okay, May. Yeah. So it's like a full year, a full calendar year, because I'm taking a bunch of classes over the summer. So it starts.
Okay,
in May.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, that's a weird tangent that we just went on about our educational histories, but there you go. A little bit more about us. I still want to get more history degrees, so I have 1 history degree.
I want to get more degrees. I'm just collecting them like they're Pokemon.
Well, I just want to get that's what I wanted to get my PhD in history. I have 1 degree in history, 1 degree in education. I'm about to get a master's in education, and then if I continue on that, keep going down that path, I think the next degree would be a PhD, and that would probably be in history, because I could teach at that level. I could teach education or history at college or public education. So I could, I'd cover literally every base.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's crazy.
And it's also just fun to learn about history, because I'm into
about
politics and news and current events and politics, which is why I do the show. But like it comes from a passion for history.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, that's the same thing with me. Like when I'm reading, going back to archaeology, when you're reading archaeological articles, there are like, a lot of people don't know this, there's certain sects of archaeologists that have certain opinions on how to read and how to evaluate human society. There are Marxist archaeologists where they take all of their all the physical components that are found, because archaeology is the study of human remains and physical things that humans left behind, and creating a society based upon those things. And so there are Marxist archaeologists that take that ideology of everything is based upon class. So when restructuring ancient societies, we're going to be looking at it through a class lens. And then there are like liberal fucking archaeologists, and there are like Michel Foucault, Michel Foucault. He's what's Jordan Peterson? What he's always talk about?
A classical liberal.
There's a classical liberal. No.
Neoliberal.
God. Anyways, there's different classes of archaeologists, and while reading those type of articles about like Marcus, I've already a socialist at that point. While reading those articles on like Marxist theology inside of archaeology, I've literally implanted in my brain. I'm like, no, this is what I am. And that archaeological like articles I was reading about class pushed me in more into politics, and that's where I gained my love for politics through archaeology.
Yeah. See, I got my history degree later in life. I was already like a member of the Communist Party and stuff by the time I actually went and got my degree. So like my education didn't have a huge like handle on or bearing or sway in my actual politics. I was already pretty firmly
I was a leftist. Yeah. You could even say I would say like a democratic socialist.
Oh, sure.
That's what I was, but like that really pushed me into more theory. Yeah. Right? Reading that, I just transitioned from archaeological Marxism to political and economic Marxism. Yeah. And then from there, I really became like a pure socialist, a Marxist. I just called myself a Marxist, and then I eventually became a communist.
Right. I wasn't a very good Marxist. I wasn't very well read, because I think at the time I took a Jewish history class, 1492 to present. And I wrote one of my final papers, and this was like my first semester of college, I think, or it was earlier on. One of my papers was about socialism in Israel's roots, like when Israel was founded by David Ben-Gurion and the other like Zionists. There was almost a tipping point where it almost became like a completely socialist state. Like there was a large vocal contingent among the Zionists creating Israel to create it as like a socialist state, or at least a pseudo-socialist state. And those were actually crushed by the more like right-leaning members of the Zionist group. And,
yes, exactly.
But at the time, I didn't recognize Zionism as like inherently anti. I mean, I guess it's not inherently anti-socialist. Well, I guess it is anti-socialist. But the point is that like I wasn't recognizing Zionism for what it was back then, because I was early days in my reading and kind of not open to like the true like. I was a communist, but not necessarily like awoken or like apprised of all of the anti-imperialist like sentiment that kind of goes along with that. The more you learn about like American imperialism or like Israeli imperialism or just Western imperialism, the more you kind of recognize it. And I think earlier on, I did not recognize it for what it was. I wasn't like a pro-Zionist or anything, but I was not anti-Zionist at the time.
Yeah,
I guess is my point to all of that. So
yeah, no, I mean, my first political view was anti-Zionism. That was my very first political awakening. Okay. So I've been a fucking anti-Zionist for, I would say, 13 years now.
Okay,
and that's when I was
OG anti-Zionist.
Yeah, that's when I was like 15, 16.
Well, speaking of, I don't know. Do you want to?
One quick fun fact. One time we were in the mall when we were like 16, 17, and there was this really attractive girl, right? And we walked up to the girl and we started talking. And she's like, "Oh, where are you from?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm from the Middle East." I'm like, "Ooh, where from the Middle East?" She's from Israel. And I just went like this. and just turned away and walked away. And
yeah.
my friends were like, "What's going on? Why?" And he had literally just left the entire building.
Oh no!
I was like,
Just
"Fuck
never
you."
seen or heard from again.
No.
Yeah. I mean, that comes back to I have a couple, not friends, but I've met a couple people from Israel, and I don't have anything against them personally. Everyone's politics are individual, right? Like you could be an anti-Zionist communist living in Israel, right? Like your material circumstances may not allow you to move out. If you're a working class person in Israel, so I'm not gonna like hate against all Israelis. That's a case by case basis. I can definitely hate on the state of Israel, the ideology of Zionism, but not individual Israelis, typically, unless they're outspoken pro-Zionism or like anti-Arab or just racist or whatever. Anyway, ready to get into some news. So we have 3 kind of bigger topics to talk about, and we can talk about them in any order. The natural segue would be into the UN ceasefire, which was just voted on. That is the big news. I don't know. Do you want to save that for the last topic and kind of go?
Well, yeah, let's go from soft news to actually, fuck it, let's breaking news. Let's do the breaking news.
They're all breaking news. Which one?
God, no.
One's from Tuesday, one's from Wednesday, one's from today.
North Korea.
That was for today. We'll go in reverse order back to the UN ceasefire. So there was a UN Security Council resolution on North Korea, as there is every year for the past 14 years, to extend the sanctions of the nuclear program monitoring in North Korea for another calendar year. It gets voted on every year. It gets passed every year, except, wait, what's that? Russia vetoed it. And because it's one of the 5 forever members, it's a UN Security Council veto, the vote dies, just like we learned with all the ceasefire votes. So this does not extend the nuclear weapons program sanctions monitoring in North Korea another year. It'll end at the end of April. Now, I said a lot of words there because there's still UN sanctions against the nuclear weapons program in North Korea. The sanctions aren't going away. It's just the panel of monitors
that are monitoring
it. They're no longer being extended, so they're no longer going to be present, I guess. So the sanctions are technically still, but it's like, what if a tree falls in the forest and you know what I mean? It's like nobody's around to hear it. Does it still make a sound? If there are sanctions, but there's nobody to monitor them, are there still sanctions? So that's kind of the question. Of course, all the Western imperialists immediately started finger wagging at Russia, saying, "Well, you just want to buy nukes from Pyongyang. You just want to buy nukes from North Korea," which, as you pointed out earlier when we were doing our prep, is just the dumbest take ever. Because A, Russia has way more nukes than North Korea ever could hope to imagine, and B,
Russia has more nukes than anybody on Earth.
Yeah, there is a lot of reports, and I think this is just kind of Western propaganda that those nukes are in disrepair. Half of them don't work. Half of them are missing or whatever. I don't know. Surely they have a couple, right? Like surely they have a handful lying around at minimum.
But even
so
half
I don't
of them
buy
missing,
that.
man. If you say half of them are missing, or
That's
half of
still
them
5,000 or
that's,
whatever.
how are you missing 5,000 nuclear warheads? That's not how
I
it
mean,
works.
well, when the wall came down and the Cold War ended, it was like a fucking free for all in Europe or in Eastern Europe for.
Yeah, but you know they had the fucking nuclear arms. The only problem that Russia had with obtaining nuclear warheads was really just Ukraine, and then they gave up their nuclear warheads, and then Russia invaded.
What this means, I don't know. It doesn't really mean much. It just means that I don't know. Who's to say?
I don't know. I think I thought it was just ironic because you have America constantly vetoing any sort of a ceasefire,
humanitarian aid or anything,
but any reasonable real ceasefire, not the ones that they fucking proposed.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're constantly vetoing, and Russia's like, you know what?
Yeah, how do you like it, bitch?
Just like. Yeah. And then they wag their finger at Russia, and Russia's like, bro, you've been vetoing everything for the past.
Yeah, the Russian UN ambassador, Vasily, apologies for the pronunciation, Vasily Nabinzia, I can't read that from here, told the council before the vote that Western nations are, so this is all, by the way, this is all quoted from an AP article on this that published today, told the vote that Western nations are trying to, quote, strangle North Korea and that sanctions are losing their relevance and detached from reality in preventing the proliferation of nuclear weapons in the country. He accused the panel of experts of increasingly being reduced to playing into the hands of Western approaches, reprinting biased information and analyzing newspaper headlines and poor quality photos. Therefore, he said, it is essentially conceding its inability to come up with sober assessments of the status of the sanctions regime. So essentially what he's saying is these panel of experts, they're obviously not in Korea. They're like looking at old headlines or like shitty grainy satellite photos, whatever, and then like trying to like deduce something from that. So like, we're just paying or, hiring these experts to sit around and look at like whatever smuggled data they can get. So it's like Russia's UN ambassador is basically just saying, like, I mean, like, can we just like get real? We're just playing a game here. Like, this isn't actual information. This is just a waste of everyone's time. This is just a Western attempt to kind of strangle North Korea.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know.
I mean, they've always had that attempt to strangle North Korea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's done nothing.
The most like bastardized and pariah, like outcasted state in the world, right? And like we've talked about this a couple times, where I'm maybe more pro DPRK than a Western commie should be, but like everything we know about North Korea, everything we know about DPRK, and like it's all just secondhand information from way less than reliable sources. We don't know a lot about that country, except what we do hear from people that like have smuggled out. And what was the stat? Like all the people that like flee North Korea, like more than half of them try to flee back once they like get a taste of South Korean capitalism. I forget the stat, but it was like a legitimate number of people that flee and get smuggled into South Korea from North Korea immediately want to go back because it's so much worse than North Korea. Like,
yeah,
you know, there's just this propaganda of like from the South Koreans and from Western imperialists that like capitalism is like this freedom bastion.
Yeah.
And so yeah, things aren't great in North Korea. I'm not like apologizing for North Korea, but it's like it's still better than capitalism. It's like what people find out.
I think my problem more than anything is like I personally don't like that, you know, Kim Jong-un and like there's like a family dynasty.
Yeah, I don't like that
dictators and
aspect
stuff
of it.
like
Yeah,
that.
it should be democratic socialists.
But like when they're like, oh,
or
look,
democratic centralism.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look. Oh, North Korea is starving its people. North Korea is doing this. North Korea is doing that. I'm like, the North Korea economy is failing. I'm like, dude, there are sanctions up the ass where nobody can trade in the world.
It's the same
with
as
them.
Cuba. It's Cuba. It's just essentially another Cuba.
It's like whatever. The people eventually, if the government is no good, eventually the people will do something to change the government. But you're not. You know, my problem is with like I'd rather have a North Korean dictatorship and see people live under a North Korean dictatorship than to have global sanctions on a country which is causing them to starve.
Yeah.
Like they don't have like the mental capacity to if they want change to create change when they're all literally like not all of them, but there's a vast majority of people that are like literally in poverty.
Yeah.
And also there's a lot of people that are like there's a lot of famines that are being induced because of like certain sanctions that are happening. Medicine's not coming in. This is not coming in. And so a lot of things that are happening in North Korea are happening because of Western powers.
Yeah.
And that's nothing to do with North Korean dictatorship, right? So if they're going to have a dictatorship, at least let the people like live a normal life without sanctions.
Yeah. And as with all things, there's nuance, right? So like, yes, a lot of their problems are caused by Western imperialism. Also, a lot of problems are caused by the fact that they do have this kind of dynastic dictatorship. Both things can be true. There's nuance there. It's not like one thing or the other, like kind of how Western like liberals see it. And so while, you know, and that's kind of, what is it called? Critical support for like any communist project or any communist experiment, right? So like DPRK, it's like they're doing what they as a country fought a war to do. It was, you know, the Korean War was fought for this with China as their ally. They won, or at least it was largely a stalemate, I guess. They get to dictate the terms of their own country. They should be able to do so without Western interference.
100%.
Yeah.
And I just, well, all I'm trying to say is like that animosity of a dictatorship.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a dictatorship.
Yes.
It's a dictatorship. Okay, then what is Saudi Arabia? It's literally a family that dictates the entire country.
100%.
We cannot be so hypocritical. And by we, I'm saying the American government and the West cannot be hypocritical by allying and supplying Saudi Arabia with weapons and different types of trading goods, and then turn around and say the opposite for North Korea because it's a dictatorship. Then what the fuck is Saudi Arabia?
Yeah.
Right? Like the hypocrisy is what pisses me off.
Yeah.
Like let them do what they're going to do. If it works out, it's because the communism worked out, and not because of sanctions.
Yeah. And like I said, do I like everything they're doing? No, I have
not.
criticisms.
I don't like any government.
And I misspoke earlier. I said democratic centralism. That's a different kind of system. What I meant is like just a democratic systems for their country. I would like to see, right? Like I would like it not to be this dynastic family lineage, like this patriarchal kind of like passing it down from son to son or father to son. I would like to see, you know, a democratically elected socialist leader and
by some sort of council or something. But
anyway, it was just it was just an interesting thing. This just happened this morning, or this afternoon, maybe. The vote actually was 13 to 1. Russia vetoed, 13 members voted for, China abstained. And I tried to look into it. I didn't have the time and I couldn't find a vote for how long China's been abstaining. I wanted to kind of go back because apparently this is the 14th year of this vote. I wanted to go back through the records because China's a forever member. I wanted to see if they've abstained all 14 years or if this was showing some kind of solidarity or what. It's not like it's really important, but I was just curious to see.
Let's see where it stands.
I wanted to know if it was 14 to 0 to 1 every year, with China always abstaining as like a show of solidarity with their kind of their Asian neighbors. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, because
I couldn't find that information.
If they do veto,
I didn't look very hard.
if they do veto, there could be sanctions placed on China, right?
Yeah.
But Russia doesn't care.
Russia doesn't give a fuck. Yeah, they have
At this
sanctions.
point,
I mean, Putin's like literally like an international war criminal according to the UN.
I don't think Putin's even doing this because he's like, a lot of people bring it back. It's like, oh, see, Putin is a communist. It's like,
Putin is not a communist.
What Putin is doing is just out of spite to the Western powers.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there is a principled stand here that would be.
That's my speculation.
I think I would agree with you that he's being spiteful. He's just trying to like stir the pot because I mean, like, this is a weird, like, it's just too coincidental of a time for him to like all of a sudden take this principled stand and stand with like, you know, an oppressed ally around the globe, which is not even an ally. If you know, Russia is a pretty far right capitalist country, a socialist country would not necessarily be a natural ally. So I can't imagine that this is like in any way out of the goodness of his heart. I have to assume this is some kind of just game he's playing with Western powers.
Because even China abstained, right? So China's like, a lot of I don't see a problem with a monitoring of nuclear weapons, right? I don't really believe in nukes in general.
Yeah, that was kind of where I was coming from too. Is I forgot to mention, like, yeah, I agree. I think we should have, like, there should be like a complete like abolition of like nuclear weapons.
I think there should be like 1,000 nuclear weapons. The UN controls it. Nobody else. The UN, just in case there's some. For fuck's sake, like, this is never gonna happen. Fucking alien invasion. You never know.
Right. But, I don't know. I feel like we know how to make
asteroid.
nukes. If we actually need nukes, we can make one pretty quick.
Yeah, an asteroid coming in. Oh, it's gonna land in 3 days.
You're describing the plot of Armageddon.
Yeah. Okay. But that's my point. Is just like, hey, just drop. Have the ability for the globe to use these for like the safety of the Earth. For God knows what, you know.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from.
A state doesn't control it.
Yeah, I don't know. Knowing everything we know about the UN and how they're basically like a Western imperial puppet, I don't know if like I would agree with it that that's who should be in control, because what that essentially is just the United States and France and England and like kind of Western
UN needs powers. The
UN needs to be retooled to be actually like a global like force for like fairness and justice in the American way, not so much the American way, but like the Superman.
Just abolish that whole 5 permanent members.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah, they're just the countries that won World War II. That's what it comes from.
No, that's
where it comes from. Yeah,
this history is written by the victors.
Literally, yeah. In this case,
so throw away the 5 permanent members. Take those 10 members and make them into 20, like the rotating members. Make those into 20, and then use that. And I feel like that would fix a lot of problems. Just
I understand the idea behind that, but there's like 85 members of the UN's National Assembly or General Assembly. So like, and if it was just a random rotated list for the Security Council, all of a sudden you'd get like Mozambique, the Dominican Republic, the Philippines, like Myanmar. Like it could just be a random assortment of like these really like off the wall jackpot leaders, like crackpot leaders that are now in charge of like world defense, because you're essentially leaving the fate of world defense to a roll of the dice.
It's better than America being in the world.
I don't know. Like that's a conversation.
Well, that's like
have,
there's
right?
there's also 20. There's also 20.
Yeah, fair
What's
enough.
a chance it lands on like 20 like fucking like dictators or something?
Like barbecue in Haiti and just like
I'd rather have barbecue in Haiti as a fucking leader than Joe Biden.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's just funny that like you just like have these like 20 crackpot countries all of a sudden.
Well, in my defense, it's like that would be just we really wouldn't have to do much. That would be like the simplest. Quick fix.
I mean, the point, the moral of that story is that the UN currently is. I think I've said it on like 9 different episodes. I wish that we could make a montage of every time I've said the UN is toothless. The UN is toothless. The UN is toothless. The UN is toothless. I mean, the UN is just a toothless, useless organization that like has no. Yeah. And we're going to talk about that when we get to the UN ceasefire, because this supposed UN ceasefire for Palestine is a good thing, yes, but it's also incredibly toothless and like has a lot of caveats, and it's really nothing. But we'll get to that in a second. We can move on to the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse first, because this is a little shorter and we could spend the bulk of the episode.
Francis Scott Key Bridge is falling down, falling down.
Yeah, so if those of you don't know, early Tuesday morning, 1:30 a.m., a massive cargo ship called the Dali. I read where it was from. It was like
It's from India, I believe.
Singaporean. Okay,
I think
was it?
from my mind.
It was somewhere in like the Indian Ocean area. It was a country somewhere in that general area. It lost power, it lost propulsion power and control, and just careened and kind of crashed into the Francis Scott Key Bridge, which is a bridge in Baltimore. It's like in central Baltimore. It's kind of like a main artery that runs through Baltimore. So luckily, it was 1:30 in the morning, so there wasn't a lot of traffic to begin with. And also the Dolly, the cargo ship that crashed, radioed in ahead of time that they had lost power. They had called in a mayday to the Coast Guard and to like I guess it's like, I don't know if it's like Maryland's Port Authority or whatever. And they were able to close
flying
traffic.
under the flag of Singapore. You were correct.
Okay,
You were correct.
that's how I got a 4.0.
Yeah, there you go.
There it is. They had where was I? They were able to call in a mayday, so traffic was able to be stopped at the bridge, which is why the casualties were actually so low. Because if you see the footage of the collapse, it's fucking gnarly. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I have. It's also at 1:30 in the morning, though.
Yeah, it was 1:30 in the morning. There was some construction, which is actually what we'll talk about in the morning in a second, and they were able to close traffic in time. There were some fatalities. Two bodies have been recovered. 8 people went over.
8 people went over, but there were 6 missing.
So there are still 6 missing. There was a search and rescue.
2 were already found.
2 were found
dead.
alive. 2 were found dead. And then the remaining 6 are missing. Wait, no, I'm
missing, and
the remaining 4, are missing and now presumed dead because the water's too cold. They've been down there too long. It's been since Tuesday. So the search and rescue has now shifted to just a recovery effort. Yeah, so those 8 members were all part of a construction crew that were on break, and they were in their cars at the time. And so they think the reason that they can't find them is because they're inside their cars because their cars fell off the bridge. They're trapped inside their car at the bottom of the Patapsco River.
Poor guys, man.
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
Workers.
Also, there's like. Yeah, it's always the working class workers, which is actually, I have a note about that in a second. The reason the recovery effort's taking so long is I guess it's like black silt at the bottom of that river. It's like black sand, and it got really kicked up, and so it's like there's just zero visibility. Things are still shifting. The bridge is still shifting, so they can't send in divers yet. They're using like remote operated vehicles, these ROVs that are going down there to try to look for the bodies, but they can't see anything. It's just black sand floating through, so it's just like it's actually a perfect event of just like it makes it very difficult to find anybody.
I believe that bridge is like at the very end of the river, and so all that silt is brought down at the river. And then it's like a delta, from what I understand, where Baltimore is. It like
goes into the whatever that bay is at Maryland. I'm not 100% sure the geography there,
but it's toward like the very end of the river. So.
And if you should really check out the video, or maybe we can just put the clip. Like it's like a real short. There's like I don't know if it's cell phone or security camera footage, but like just right here.
We'll put it up here.
It's very short, and the bridge is kind of like massive sections of it just careen into the water. Let's see, what else do I have?
Well, there's something I wanted to say about this. Like the amount of copium that people are presenting, just like it's because
from this are just so
bro,
wild.
Like what you guys? It's like it's as if accidents don't happen anymore.
This is largely apolitical too. So like
I was just an accident.
Yeah, man. I was hesitant to even like talk about this because it's really not under our purview. It's a breaking news kind of event, but there's very little in the way of like political analysis here. There is a couple, and we're going to touch on that in a minute. But the one is all 8 men who so of the 8, 2 were recovered immediately alive. One had no injuries. One had pretty severe injuries, but he has since been discharged from the hospital, so they're life threatening. He's already home from the hospital. Those 2 survived. 2 were found dead. The other 4 are missing, and also are at this point definitely dead. All 8 of them are immigrants from Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, or El Salvador. They are all working class men. They were fixing potholes on the bridge. So the one thing you can say for this is that it's all when these types of bridge collapses happen, when this type of, and this is purely an accident. This wasn't due to like negligence, like the bridge that collapsed in with that senator on it last year. All of these roads that are collapsing, like the train derailments, all of our infrastructure
on I-5. If you go up to exit 229, 230,
that's pretty
just
far
up
there,
north. Yeah. The whole bridge collapsed, and I think it was like a lot of people died.
Yeah, so like this happens, right? There are these massive like infrastructure collapses. This wasn't that, but my point to that is that every time this does happen, or most of the times these types of things do happen, it's always the working class people that are the ones who suffer from it. And that's obviously that's not a hot take because it's like those are the people that are working in or commuting to work, working on these things. So like that's doesn't really need to be said, I guess, but it's worth mentioning. Also, another thing is, and this was from a report I read from The Stranger, which is a Seattle-based kind of news outlet, is their whole article was based on like these bridges aren't designed for the ships, because if you look at the scale of the bridge with a photo of that ship, it's like almost boggles the mind how big that ship is, and that ship is like half the size of a normal cargo container. These ships are like multiple football fields length. This bridge was designed and built well before these ships were implemented.
Yeah, this bridge was built in the 70s.
Yeah, and it was designed and kind of based on a much older model of bridge, which has like they could have never imagined a world where ships that big would be on these smallish rivers with the amount of weight they're carrying. It was like 10,000 tons of cargo or whatever. It's just like the amount of weight they're carrying is like insane, and if it just like bumps into that bridge, of course it's gonna
give it a love
tumble.
tap.
Yeah, it would just tumble down. And so the other kind of like
Yeah,
because it was moving very slow, and
it wasn't moving that fast, man.
Yeah, well, I guess it was moving. It was like 8 knots or something, which apparently from one report says it actually is pretty rapid for like coming to that. So like, yeah, I mean that's a bowling ball toward bowling pins. But I guess
what I understand is like they dropped an anchor.
Yeah, but it would take like several a mile or whatever.
But what happened is like when the anchor dropped. From what I understand, the tail end of the ship shifted like almost like a bat.
Oh, okay. So it started swinging.
And it just smacked the bridge, and then the whole bridge collapsed.
Yeah. So from like, it's kind of like the principle of like when a semi truck slams on its brakes, right? It's still going to take like a quarter of a mile to actually stop. It's the same idea for like when you drop anchor on these cargo ships, they're so big and they're so heavy. It takes like a long time for them to stop, and it was never going to not hit that bridge. And so like people are saying like, well, the one kind of like the reason capitalism is at fault here is because like these bridges were never designed with these types of ships in mind, and so like the cargo ships and the power of these ships are growing much faster than our infrastructure can catch up. And there's probably a conversation to be had there. It's not super relevant, I don't think. It's just worth mentioning.
Well, the idea, it's like there's like this idea is like, oh, we have to work on American jobs. We have to work America first, whatever. If you hear from like the Republicans, America first, and then when like, I mean, to their credit, I guess, you have a Democratic senator or whatever introduce an infrastructure bill to reinforce bridges like this and fix roads, they say no. They're like, no, that's socialism. That's too much. And then when something like this does happen,
that
because
wasn't even Republican that vetoed that was Joe Manchin cut most of the bill back. He's a Republican. Yeah, I mean he's a Republican.
He's a fucking Republican.
But in technically name, like the Build Back Better, that was like the original like $8 billion infrastructure deal that kept getting cutted and scaled back to like $2-something billion or even less than. Yeah, I think a lot of that was largely due to Joe Manchin. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But
no, you're all good. But I just thought it was ironic. Like a lot of the people that did not see this as an accident, this is what I find funny. The people that didn't see this kind of shit as an accident, they're like, it must be the immigrants. We have low quality of work because they're immigrants, or because they're gay, or because this and that.
Because of diversity.
Yeah. I'm like, or the craziest take I saw. It's Hamas.
Oh my God! Yeah,
it was planned Hamas attack because I don't even know why.
Alejandro Mayorkas, the Homeland Security Secretary, he was saying that they are monitoring the situation, because there was like, I think anytime something like this happens, the immediate thought is like, well, we have to investigate for the possibility of terrorism. But the Homeland Security Director, Mayorkas, he said like, no, we're investigating, but as of now, there's obviously no indication of
I know who it really was.
Hillary Clinton. I've seen that.
No, are you serious?
Yeah, I saw some memes. I was like, it's Hillary Clinton. I was like, Jesus. Nancy Pelosi's ghost. She was from Baltimore, right?
Bro, yeah. No. I know who this was. It was under Singaporean flag. The
TikTok CEO.
The anger of the TikTok CEO. Yes. He took his anger and said, "Fuck you, America."
Senator, I'm Singaporean. Oh my God, that's great.
I want to make a thumbnail where it's the ship
his face
on the ship.
Oh my God, is that in Portes? People did die. I don't know.
I know, but a lot of people have died with a lot of things. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm like,
fair enough.
Well, we're so numb to everything. Like I am, like genuinely, I feel bad for the people that have died.
Yeah.
The people that were like the working class people that were affected by this. But I think the best way to deal with things is just comedic relief.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people have died because of Netanyahu, because of Biden.
Yeah.
But that's not going to stop me from fucking making fun of Biden, putting Biden's face with an ass on his fucking face. I don't know.
I'm trying to fill up because I wanted to pull up when Nancy Pelosi died because I was just going to joke that it's the ghost of Nancy Pelosi because she was born in like.
Nancy Pelosi didn't die. Feinstein died.
Oh, Feinstein died. Damn it.
Yeah, Nancy Pelosi.
I said ghost of Nancy Pelosi. If Nancy, okay, well, yeah, because Nancy Pelosi was born in Baltimore. That's where she was.
No, Nancy Pelosi was on that ship,
Yeah, it's Nancy
steering
Pelosi.
the ship.
Watch, she's gonna campaign on it or something. Yeah. Oh, I think I mentioned Nancy Pelosi being dead recently for something else. Because I guess I got Pelosi and Feinstein.
She's practically
confused.
dead. She's like 80 something.
She's 84, I think. I just
84. Did you see her tit job?
What? No.
You didn't see her tit job?
No, dude.
Not bad.
No. I'm like, if you want to do it, you want to.
Oh, I gotta bring this up.
I'm not trying to look at Nancy Pelosi's boobs. If she wants to get that, feel good about herself,
this is just
more power to her. If you rewatch The Wire, I don't know if this is going to go in or not, but if you watch The Wire, HBO's best television show ever made, in their early seasons, there's good for her. There's Nancy Pelosi flyers a lot in The Wire.
Really?
Yeah, because it was filmed in Baltimore, and she was campaigning in Baltimore for Congresswoman back then. So
that's like some sneaky ass advertisement.
Yeah.
Was that purposeful or?
No, it was just because it was just like her flyers were everywhere in the city
yeah.
of Baltimore. So like in the background of like a scene, you would see like the wheat pasted like just like flyers, but then it said Nancy Pelosi for Congress or whatever.
That's like almost genius marketing if you think about it.
Yeah, I don't think it was intentional. I think it's just because she's from Baltimore and they filmed in Baltimore.
What if she won because of that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I was the only person to really notice it. I mean, I'm sure I wasn't the only person to notice it. I'm not saying I'm some like, but I watch The Wire a lot. I rewatch it like every year.
To bring it back to American politicians, since we're talking about Pelosi, RFK.
Right, yeah, we were talking about this, that he chose a running mate, but then I forgot to actually research into it because I don't care. But I'm curious to know who his VP pick was. Sarah something.
Apparently, it's Shannon something.
Oh, Shannon? I thought it was Sarah. My bad.
Hold up, I'll look it up. I just forgot her name. I know like a lot of the information, just don't know her name. Okay, so RFK picks Nicole Shannon as his running mate. So some interesting things about this. I mean, none of this.
Shanahan.
Nicole
Shanahan, yeah.
Shannon. She's Nicole Shannon now.
Okay.
Shanahan.
I name you.
I name you Shannon.
You're no longer to be
We
known by.
both did it at the same time.
Nice.
I love it. So a couple just the key features, like it really doesn't fucking matter because the dude's a fucking deadbeat. He's not going to do anything. But I just thought it was interesting, and a lot of people that are voting for RFK or that wanted to vote for RFK are actually kind of furious. So she is a 38-year-old attorney from California. Mm-hmm. She was married to the co-founder of Google, in which she. Don't quote me 100%, but I think she would file for divorce or was divorced in 2018.
Yeah.
And in that divorce settlement, she was asking for over $1 billion. Mm-hmm. When the divorce settlement was complete, there were no actual public statements about how much was actually given to her. But it's safe to say she's loaded. So now. I've heard I saw Kyle Kalinske saying like the reason why he wants her as a running mate is because 1, she's got money, 2, she's hot.
Yeah, cash infusion. Oh, I don't know what she looks like, but
she's actually. I mean, she's an attractive young lady who's like 38. You know.
Yeah. I mean, that's only almost 2 years older than me. A little less than 2, or a little more than 2 years older than me.
She's attractive.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think the main point is that like cash infusion, like right, like if running for president is incredibly expensive and there's no way RFK is pulling like the donations needed to sustain a national campaign.
Exactly.
So if she is a billionaire,
he's hoping that she could basically fund this.
Yeah.
Which is he's basically selling out. All right. But
well, it's not like it wasn't already sold out before. And I wonder, like, because like obviously she would have to be like just completely just an idiot to not.
Are like, what does she bring?
Well, that's the thing is like she'd have to be an idiot to realize that like to think she's gonna win. So like she's hoping to get national recognition.
Publicity or something like that.
Maybe she wants to like roll this into like a Senate bid or a congressional bid next year or something, or in a year or two. So I don't know. Maybe that's what she's hoping to get out of it. But
okay, so just a quick note why everybody's hating on this though. She donated her full amount that you can donate to RFK's campaign, which was like 6,000 or something like that.
I think it's only 2,000, right?
That's from what I understand. It was 6,000 that she donated. It might be increased because of inflation and shit.
Thanks, Obama.
Thanks, Obama. It's your fault.
Yeah.
God damn it. And then she donated a lot of money. I think it was, God, don't quote me again. I could probably put it up here. It was like $10 million to his super PAC. And then she partially paid for his ad at the Super Bowl, and she paid $4 million worth of the ad. So
Yeah.
that's a lot. And I feel like for somebody that's not that big of a candidate, that's kind of like, hey, if I do this, hey, you need a VP, right? Fuck.
Yeah, like, like
I'm a hot young woman. A lot of people will vote just because I'm a hot young woman.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure there's a couple million or whatever. Yeah, you think that's like kind of where it started. She bought the VP nom just there. I was also just reading now too that like he had to just choose someone because I guess a lot of states you can't file for
Correct
to be on the ballot without a running mate chosen. So
yeah,
which begs the question: when is Trump going to choose his? Yeah,
that is a great question.
Yeah, people are talking that's probably coming any day now. Now that this has been announced.
Did you see the thing about what's her fucking face? Tulsi?
No. What about Tulsi Gabbard?
Yeah.
What about her?
So she was pretty much begging to be Trump's running mate. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
She has done one full fucking flip.
Nah, she's always been like.
No, I know, but I'm saying politically in the United States.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like she grew up as like a fascist. Like what the hell was it?
Hindu fascist.
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
There's a podcast. Check out this old podcast series if you like Cody Johnson and Katie Stoll and Robert Evans. They had a little limited series podcast called Worst Year Ever leading up to the 2020 election. And they did like expose, like real details on all candidates.
Yeah.
And they went real deep into Pete Buttigieg, which is where I learned he was a CIA asset. And then they did one on Tulsi Gabbard, which I learned where she was like weird.
Supposedly a CIA asset.
No, definitely.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And then where Tulsi Gabbard, she grew up in like a cult compound of like Hindu fascists, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I
have to like go back and re-listen to it to like remember all the details. But I was just like blown away listening to that. Like, what the fuck is this fucking psychopath?
Dude, she's flipping. She is flipping. I mean, look, listen. She has always been the person she is right now. But the thing is, she is a grifter.
Yeah.
She is a grifter, right?
Yeah. I mean,
but she
yeah,
she was seeing which way the wind was blowing,
which
and
is just that's the core tenet of fascism. It's just being a populist, right? So like that's where it always comes down to is like fascism is so hard to define because it's oftentimes will have left leaning or right leaning or centrist views because like as an ideology it's very fluid in that it just goes with whatever the populist movement is because fascism is very like malleable.
Fascism is grifting.
Yeah, they don't have any values.
Griftism.
Apart from like they have like extreme nationalism. Like homophobia, racism, but like apart from that, like it's pretty. I gotta stop playing with this Velcro thing. It's probably picking it up. It's very like malleable, and that makes it hard to define, but it also makes like calling somebody a fascist difficult because they're like, "Oh, Tulsi Gabbard's not a fascist. She was literally in the Democratic Party." And it's like that's irrelevant. Yeah, that's irrelevant to whether or not she's a fascist. So
it's just so gross, man. It's so gross because like she was like anti-war, pro this, pro that.
Yeah.
And then she went on Fox News segments. And we're like, oh, it was like first major red flag.
Yeah.
And then back Fox News segment again. I'm like, what is Tulsi like? It's okay going on one time once in a while to Fox News to try to clear your mind and tell.
Yeah, Pete Buttigieg whatever goes on Fox News all the time. Everybody does because
they had a whole Fox News panel.
Yeah, sure.
But it's to basically talk to the people from the other side of the room.
I remember his town hall.
Yeah, it was a town hall for Fox News. It was to talk to people from the other side.
Yeah, he convinced a lot of. I remember that this was kind of a segue or like a different topic, but like I forgot about that town hall because like all the Fox News voters that were there, he convinced them all because like it was just like obviously like very like. Obvious answers.
Broke it down like baby.
Yeah,
baby
like
talk.
it's just like but that's the thing is like if you explain like socialist principles like coherently, everyone's like, oh yeah, that obviously makes sense. That's way better than what we have going on now.
Wait, that's what socialism is? Yeah. But he wasn't even explaining socialism. He was explaining a mixed economy.
Basically, he was being pretty like
socialist policies,
it,
with like
under American capitalism.
But I mean, that's a good first step.
But that was but even that was enough to like sway these Fox News voters. Anyway, sorry, I didn't.
And that's how we have MAGA communists now.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that's a whole other. We should do like a whole expose on MAGA communists. Although people have done that. That'd be retread ground.
But anyways, so Tulsi basically was begging Trump recently to become the VP, and honestly, I think it politically, I think for him it would be really good.
I think so. I think it would pick up a lot of like moderate Democrats. I mean, like if you're thinking for Trump's team, like
it's also a woman.
Yeah, I
A
think
woman of color.
from Hawaii, right? So you get a lot of
But
Hawaiian
she has
voters.
Indian. She has Indian background.
No, but I just mean like Hawaii is a deep blue state,
Yes,
so you get.
yes.
I mean, not that I don't think it'd be enough to change it to a
No,
red state,
I don't
but
think
like,
so, no. Maybe
yeah, I think Hawaii
3-4%.
Hawaii's a pretty deep blue state, if I recall from like electoral maps. But like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it makes sense, right? You get a lot of like California liberals, you'd get a lot of like crystal mamas, and like I mean, those types of people for sure. Those people that like would normally kind of be put off by Trump would think, oh, maybe Trump will die, and then we'll have President Gabbard.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awful. Wow, I just thought about that.
Oh
That's
my
worse than
God.
like President Sarah
I think
Palin.
I'm just gonna end it.
Jesus
end
Christ,
myself,
yeah.
man.
Because like,
I
if
can
Trump
see
is
Russia
elect-
from my house.
Yeah, oh God, I forget about Sarah Palin, dude. Good times. For those of you that were like politically like aware in 2006 through 2008, what a fucking wild time to be alive.
Yeah,
man.
it was.
Yeah.
Oh God, I don't remember too
Yeah.
much back then, but there's like
Oh,
keynotes.
that was my first election. I remember that. I was like 18 to 20 during that time, and yeah, Jesus Christ, man, wild time.
I turned 18 in 2013.
How old are you?
I'm old. I'm 29 in
I
June.
mean, I'll be 36 in September, so yeah,
Yeah.
that tracks. Yeah,
You're like you're
So,
2
yeah.
elections ahead of me.
I'm like, yeah, I'm 6 years. I'm like one midterm and one presidential election
Yeah.
ahead of you. So that was my first presidential election. Was in 2008. Technically 2006. I turned 18 in 2006. I voted in that midterm election.
Wow.
I remember I voted for Gabby Giffords, the congresswoman who later got shot in the head at the Safeway. She lived. She's a gun rights
wow.
activist.
Oh my God.
It's you know this current senator for
Wait, what? Hold up. She got shot in the head and she turned
Yeah.
around and was like, no, this is good.
No, I mean she has some like pretty severe like cognitive like issues. Like she's
Okay.
not 100%. Yeah.
Okay,
But, I mean,
I
she's
just-
like,
I
she's
just-
not,
it
I don't
just
want to
threw
make
me
that
off.
sound like she's like handicapped or like totally disabled or anything. She's like she's aware. She's there.
Yeah,
she has
but
like some slurred speech or
it
whatever.
just throws me off. It's not about that. It just was
No,
like,
you don't remember that? It was 2000. It was a campaign event. I think in early 2008.
no, I don't
maybe
remember. That was in 8th
2007.
grade. I was in 8th grade,
Oh,
man.
sure.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I don't know anything.
I
about
remember
politics.
I was working in a kitchen at Red Lobster. Shout out to Red Lobster. And yeah, there was she was doing a campaign event at a Safeway in North Tucson. And yeah, a gunman opened up. Jared Lofter, whatever. He opened up. He killed her aide. He killed a couple people and he shot her in the head.
Jesus, man.
Yeah, Gabe Zimmerman was her aide. There's a trail in Arizona named after him, the Gabe Zimmerman Trail. Anyway, she's married to Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly, the senator from Arizona. He was
Mark
the
Kelly?
astronaut. Mark Kelly, the senator from Arizona. That's Gabby Giffords' husband.
Got it.
He was an astronaut and all that, but then she retired from politics, and then a few years later, very recently, like 15 years later, whatever, he ran for Senate and won the Senate seat in Arizona. So that's Mark Kelly is the husband to the former Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords.
Got it.
The whole point was that I think in 2006 I voted for Gabby Giffords.
Got
And maybe she wasn't. No, she had to. Yeah, she had to have been running then. I always liked Raul Grijalva. He was the other we're getting deep into it. Doesn't matter. let me. I'm gonna pull the plug on this. Raul Grijalva was he was like a Bernie type guy. I don't remember his politics too much. He was probably just a liberal. But he has all of his campaign posters because he had he was a very, very like kind of heavy set Hispanic man. He was like your Mexican uncle kind of guy. He seemed like he was really cool.
We call him Theo.
Yeah, your Theo, yeah. And like he had this really bushy mustache, and all of his campaign posters were just the silhouette of his head with a mustache. So it was
Bernie.
it was the Bernie thing, but like
Yeah.
20 years before Bernie did it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, Raul Grijalva was doing that literally in like 2004, 2006 or whatever. So I'm like, I always liked Raul Grijalva. Looking back on it now, I mean, I was a liberal back then, so I liked his policies back then. I don't know his policies anymore. He's still in Congress. He's still fucking
Really?
yeah. He's still a congressman for Southern Arizona for that part of Tucson. Anyway,
Anyways, we should probably get to our very
our
last
final
and
story
the most important.
Yeah.
The most important story of this week
yeah,
is we have so the UN basically passes a ceasefire.
yes.
So a ceasefire vote took place, 14 votes for, 1 vote abstaining, and that was from the US.
of course.
I did not see this coming.
This vote, I didn't have any like this must have been drafted or whatever over the past few days. But this, yeah, I was like driving to work or something, and I got a push on my phone, like a notification on my phone that UN ceasefire vote passes, and I was like, oh, it wasn't on my radar. Yeah, it's pretty big news. A lot of people are getting very excited, and like with good reason. It's nice that there's a ceasefire. Any ceasefire is a good ceasefire. However, this is not unlike the previous like pause. This isn't a ceasefire. This is a pause, and people are using the word ceasefire. It's not a ceasefire. It's a pause. It only goes until Ramadan ends, which is only 2 more weeks.
Yes.
It's only until.
But I do have to say that Hamas actually approved of this.
Hamas did approve of it. I have a quote from the leadership of Hamas saying, It affirms its readiness to engage in immediate prisoner swaps on both sides, which is veiled language because the ceasefire does not include, or the resolution does not include, requirements for Israel to release its prisoners. However, it does require Hamas to release its prisoners. And the Hamas statement says we're ready to engage for a prisoner swap on both sides. And I wonder if Israel's going to like be a bitch about it and not want to give up any Palestinian hostages.
Even if they don't, I think what the most important thing is to have a permanent ceasefire and for Israel to leave.
Yeah, well, that's never going to happen. That's not even on the table for this, right? Like, so okay, let's actually, I have a bulleted point of what this list includes. An immediate release of all hostages by Hamas. That's required in the resolution. It only lasts until the end of Ramadan, which is only 2 more weeks from time of recording, approximately April 10th. Well, not approximately. Ramadan, it's Eid. What's it called?
Eid, yeah.
That's April 10th. That's the final, like the actual last day of fasting for Ramadan. In America, I don't know if the time difference makes that either April 9th or 11th. I'm not 100% sure, but April 10th.
Yeah.
There is an emphasis on getting more humanitarian aid in and a protection of civilians. That's like included in the language of the actual resolution. It is binding, although fun fact, in every press conference, every U.S. spokesperson and every Israel spokesperson keeps referring to it as a non-binding resolution. They're like really trying to gaslight everybody, and it's actually really bizarre because like even like Anthony Blinken called it, the United States Secretary of State said it's non-binding, and like all the other people are quick to say, no, it's binding. Even the Chinese ambassador was like, you need to stop calling it non-binding. It's very much binding. It is international law. And I think I have a quote from the Chinese ambassador here a little later. It's regarded as, so yeah, it is binding. It's regarded as international law. However, the Reuters article, the journalist on the Reuters article that I read had said that even if it isn't adhered to by Israel, because it is a binding international like law now, it's binding resolution. It's unlikely, quote, unlikely the Security Council will take any further action, end quote, if Israel does nothing to it. So, like, technically, yes, but there was a binding resolution to, like, arrest Putin and cease the war in Ukraine. And so, like...
Yeah, but that also...
I'm being very cynical and pessimistic because I'm just, like, I've been burned by Israel before. Like, Israel will always be, like, the worst... Not me personally, but, like, having seen Israel do these things of, like, they will always choose, like, the worst possible outcome. They will be the shadiest. They will do the most heinous like war crime imaginable. So like, yeah, the UN has told them they have to stop. I'm not convinced they're going to stop.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that.
And do you think America would invade? Do you think the UN would send troops to invade in Israel if they don't stop?
I don't. Hold up. I don't think they're going to send troops, right? But what I do think is it would the global, first of all, like the global South, but also just the global community in general, like because like Brazil already like pulled this ambassador out of Israel. It's like fuck this shit.
Yeah.
And so a lot of countries, especially from like BRICS, are like not cooperating with Israel right now.
Yeah, there's been a huge movement internationally to like.
So boycott. What I think could happen is the UN calls for a sanction.
Yeah.
Which I think.
Yeah, that would be the next step.
One way to take away from a capitalist, imperialist state is take away its rights to an economy.
That's literally what stopped apartheid in South Africa.
Yeah.
It wasn't any like international outcry about the war crimes. It was sanctions, and it was like boycotts and arms embargoes. And
America could say fuck that shit all at once, but if the entire globe says, okay, America, you don't have to sanction them, but everybody else will.
I will say
then
historically
there could be something.
Yeah, I agree to that. However, to counterpoint my own argument of that's what stopped South African apartheid is that was largely an American embargo on a boycott of South African trade. So like America won't be the one to sanction Israel. The UN can, but America is everyone's largest trading partner.
Yeah, but good luck getting shit into them, like because all they have to do is like realistically is a blockade from like if Egypt did
just the Mediterranean Sea,
the
right?
Suez Canal, the port of Gibraltar, and then from the Red Sea, that little part. But that can easily be done by Yemen, Sudan, Ethiopia,
Egypt,
Eritrea, Saudi Arabia wouldn't because they're fucking bitches, little pussies. Anyways,
Saudi Arabia, little bitch.
Yeah, a little bitch. But like so. That could work.
No, I'm just saying, like, the international, all of the neighbors around Israel are not friendly to Israel, and so, like, if there were sanctions, I think, like, just how Russia's happy to kind of like throw the middle finger to the UN Security Council. I think Israel's neighbors would be happy to just like enforce any sanctions just as a middle finger to Israel, which and rightly so. I don't know. I'm
because Israel's economy is down by 20% already.
Yeah, no, like the boycotts and everything that what little has happened is hurting Israel, and like they are completely propped up. At least from the munitions side by the U.S. Like
so, but
their
if we
entire
block,
army, yeah. So
if we block all ports of entry from like into the Mediterranean,
their army would
Sea,
collapse in days, weeks,
Exactly.
a few weeks, maybe at most. So yeah, I mean that's definitely something to be said. I do have one more note here, which is very funny. The UN ambassador to the the U.S. ambassador to the UN, the lady who voted in abstention, decried the resolution and was very upset about it that it didn't condemn Hamas. And so she actually made that statement.
I watched
of like,
the video
yeah,
of
it
them
doesn't
all
condemn Hamas.
clapping and stuff like that, and you can see. I'll put it up here actually.
Yeah.
Will those in favor of the draft resolution contained in document S/2024/254 please raise their hand. Those against? Abstention. Result of the voting is as follows. 14 votes in favor, 0 vote against, 1 abstention. The draft resolution has been adopted as Resolution 27.
In that video, you could like totally see her like as she's raising up her hand because they're like, oh, all members for, just everybody.
Yeah.
And then against, nobody, and abstain, you could just see her go.
I'm about to get roasted online.
Yeah, and I
just thought that was so funny that she actually said the line. It's like the Bart Simpson meme, say the line, but they didn't condemn Hamas. And it's just like she actually said that. Yeah, I don't know. This is good. I mean, like honestly, this is 2 weeks of not fighting. There was one report I had read that said by May there's going to be a complete collapse, like there will be a complete famine in northern Gaza that will spread to the entirety of Gaza by July. So we're at the precipice of like things are bleak now, but things are going to get a lot worse in the next like 30 days or so.
There's a famine and the shit doesn't end in the next 2 to 3 months.
Oh,
we could see close to like a few 100,000 people dying.
Yeah, upwards maybe as many as a million. Like because this is like
dude,
that's half the population of Palestine.
And at that point, something has to give. You
Yeah.
cannot let like
a million people die.
A million
or 500,
people die.
Even 200,000.
even
I mean,
like
any number.
Yes.
Like the
I mean,
death
we're at
toll-
40,000 actual
Yeah, the death toll is
tolls.
probably around. I saw an estimate at 35, 32, but it's probably closer to 40.
It's
At least with all the missing.
I think it's minimum 40,000.
Minimum, easy.
These are not accounting for people that are missing or
Yeah.
people that are under rubble.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's like 32,000 people dead, like a confirmed. So 40,000
Is a soft
easy,
estimate for sure.
Right.
Yeah, but like the big thing to watch out for is this impending famine of like things have been tight. These people have been living on like just
Grass.
grass.
Animal feed. They're eating animal
One
feed.
thing I read was that the animal feed is running out. So like they're running
Yeah.
out of animal feed, and they're down to like triple digits or even double digits calories. So it's like, and that's not considered a famine. So like it's a like if they're worried about the famine that's coming in a month or so, then like that's going to be bad. Then that's when that's when the death tolls are going to start spiking. And so if this pause can alleviate some of that, if there is an emphasis over the next 2 weeks to get just a flood of humanitarian aid in, food in, then sure, I'm for it. I wish it were stronger and I wish it were more permanent.
Somebody fucking just start fucking shooting missiles. Like it sounds horrible to say, but like, what can Israel really do surrounded like on all 4 or 5 sides?
Yeah, I mean that's where I've always been like. I mean, it's not
Fuck
my,
this
it's
shit,
not my
man.
place because I'm not Arab or Muslim or I'm just an American. I'm just a white boy in Seattle. But I've always been like kind of like I don't know.
I personally, if you had people like fucking settle their bullshit outside of this, after this we can continue with our bullshit. But if you had like 6 countries, Turkey, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, all is completely surround, all soldiers just come in and completely surround and be like, get the fuck out of Gaza.
Go to Long Island.
Go back, go to Long Island. What are you going to do? Start a world war? Good luck.
Well, that happened in Israel 1. I mean, like that was.
It was in 1967, and it was
the 7 Days War, right?
Yeah, whatever. The fucking bullshit.
That happened. All the Arab countries invaded.
Jordan
Israel
and Lebanon invaded. Dude,
Yeah.
If Iran,
I'm saying that.
Turkey.
Listen, that's a different time. That's a different time. I'm not saying that would happen again.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is like what like kind of where it's not my place to be disappointed, but I am disappointed in just the lack of like fraternity or solidarity with like the Arab neighbors around. I think we talked about this in the October episode when this kind of first really started ramping up. Is we talked about like the response from Jordan and Lebanon and Egypt and kind of the Palestinian Arab. The Arab population surrounding Palestine, and I was kind of disappointed in the lack of like the lukewarm response from their Arab brothers. It would be nice to see like more solidarity, but that's where it's like it's not my place to ask for that. It's not, you know what I mean? It's like I can't tell Egypt to like risk its life for Palestine when I'm neither Arab nor Muslim. So it's like, you know, what place is it of mine to say?
I wouldn't, but here's the thing. Like at the end of the day, I was like, I wouldn't say risk its life. I would just say something, because like Egypt has done as much as Japan has done.
Egypt's done dick all. Yeah.
It hasn't done anything.
In fact, actually, Egypt has like closed the borders and like stopped refugees from coming into Egypt's borders. So
dude,
like,
you know what I would do if I was Egypt, right? Gaza is not Israeli Jesus Christ. It's not Israeli land.
Yeah.
It is Palestinian land,
yeah.
right? I would just simply walk into there with Egyptian soldiers. Be like, oh, this is in Israel. This is Gaza. This is Palestine.
We're not breaking your sovereignty.
This is Palestine Authority. This is their land by international recognition. You just enter in there with soldiers. Go ahead, fire a missile at Gaza now. Because now, if you fire and it hits one of our
kill
soldiers,
an Egyptian soldier, yeah.
Now
on.
we have jurisdiction for war. But what did they do? They closed the border. They're like, what happens.
Yeah. I think that was a real shitty response. Yeah.
I'm like, dude, they could have easily done that. Iran and Iraq send like militias into the Palestinian Authority inside West Bank, right? Because if Palestinians, because they actually control that land internationally, if Palestinians allowed those soldiers to come in, they can't do shit.
Yeah, they would be welcome guests. Yeah,
they would be welcome guests because
Palestinian
that's their
land.
country.
Yeah.
They could easily do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of what ifs and could have beens, but I mean, at the end of the day, Palestinians have been largely just on their own throughout this entire genocide, and hopefully now this ceasefire can bring some peace. At least, you know,
it's a good temporary rest.
It's definitely a temporary needed.
And while this ceasefire is going, this pause is going on, they could renegotiate further.
Yeah, if you know, I mean, not that Israel's ever like held up its end of any kind of bargain, but like, yeah, say Hamas does release all the hostages and they're in good health and good spirits, which I assume they will be because Hamas has typically treated their hostages very well.
Yeah.
So like maybe that'll give them some more goodwill, and maybe that'll lead to further negotiations. Who's to say? But we'll definitely be following this pretty closely. As it goes on, and you know, there's only 2 more weeks of this, so Ramadan ends on, like I said, April 10th, which I think is a Wednesday. I think that's the day we record.
April 9th it ends.
April 9th.
April 10th.
Okay, well,
From what I understand, for me, it ends April 9th, and then April 10th is Eid.
Yeah. Okay.
Wednesday is Eid.
Oh, I is that how it works? I'm not.
And then there'll be 3 days of Eid.
Obviously. Okay. Cool.
Right? One last thing I'd like to say is I don't listen. I am not a theocrat. I'm not that religious. I'm not even pro-religious authorities, right? But I do have to say one thing. Have you seen the videos of Taliban members begging the Taliban authority to send them to Israel to fight?
No.
They're like there's like a bunch of Taliban members being like let us fight the imperialists just like we did before.
They just want to get their scrappy.
They literally send like a bunch of them, like unreasonable amounts, like send us to Israel, we will fight. Like I'm like, dude, that's what we need. That is low key hardcore, right? Like these are people that are like gonna show up and be like, okay, want to fight somebody on your own size. And I respect that a lot, you know, even though I'm not like a big fan of theocracy.
Or I'm also not a big fan of like furthering a war, but it's like, you know,
hey, man,
it's going to happen. The war's happening.
Whether
you want it to
if
or
they
not.
shifted the fight toward other people, they would give Palestinians a break because they wouldn't have the force to keep bombing them.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like, that's honorable.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, that's what kind of what I was referring to is like stepping up for your kind of your Arab brothers or your
and
Muslim brothers.
The more I see them, the kind of like the little bit more of respect I have for the Taliban. Yeah, and in a sense, I kind of like realize like a lot of things that are said about them are also just Western imperialist lies.
Sure, it's a lot of like the DPRK kind of stuff where it's like, it's more nuanced than just that. It's also more nuanced than like Hamas, right? Like where it's like, the material we yada yada. We've been through this
Yes.
debate quite a few times, but I'm just going to cut out the clip where you just give unconditional support to Taliban, and I'm going to post that everywhere. Yeah. Oh, can I tell you a funny story real quick before we wrap up? I really put my foot in my mouth with some students today. I was walking at lunch from the teachers' lounge with I heated up my lunch in the teachers' lounge. I was walking back to my classroom to get some work done. And in the halls, I have a group of my students they're Muslim girls, and there's quite a few. We have a pretty heavy Muslim population in my school, and so there's quite a few students that are on fasting and observing Ramadan. And I was walking by and I said, "Ladies, enjoy your lunch." And then one of my students just immediately roasted me and she's like, "Yeah, I'll enjoy this air." And I was like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, guys. I didn't mean anything by that." She was just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna enjoy this air." And I'm like, "Damn, she roasted me." So anyway, it's just pretty funny.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Muslims are fasting, and to say enjoy your lunch is kind of maybe insensitive.
I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there when I was younger, fasting and stuff like
Yeah.
that. This person's like grabs a bag of chips, like, "I'm so sorry. Is it all right if like I feel bad eating around?" Just like, dude, just eat your food.
Yeah, they
Like,
roast
don't
me
change your
every
life.
morning though, because I eat my like overnight oats in class in like my homeroom, and I have, like I said, I have like a pretty heavy Muslim population, and I'm like I'm pretty close with these kids, and like I have my overnight oats, and I'll be walking around like checking in on whatever, and then they're like, "You really gonna eat that at me, for real right now?" And I'm like, "Oh, sorry," but they're just messing with me, so it's just pretty funny.
Yeah,
They have a pretty good sense of humor.
The whole
about it.
point
Yeah.
is learning how to control your
Yeah.
urges to eat
Yeah.
the and every other type of
Yeah,
aspect
yeah.
of
We
life.
we had a whole like
Discussion
assembly about it like at the beginning of Ramadan, and we have a cultural club that's like led by a couple Muslim students. We're
The
pretty
Taliban. What?
Yeah, no, we're pretty like Muslim friendly school because we have a huge population of East Africans and like Somalis, Eritreans. Yeah, a lot of Muslim population from there.
Nice.
Anyway, cool. As always,
I was gonna say we
Nope.
need to start saying in the beginning of the video. Don't forget to subscribe.
just awkwardly cut this in at the beginning.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, we're gonna awkwardly cut this in the beginning. Hey, this is the future us. From an hour later, that we forgot to say, subscribe this, you freaking beautiful person, you, and like and comment. We're gonna warp back into our swap.
Yeah, go ahead and give us a subscribe, give us a like, give us a comment, give us a follow. Revolutionary Rhetoric Pod, wherever you get your social medias, except on Twitter, where we're Rev Rhetoric Pod. But I don't think we really go on Twitter much. Are you still cross-posting the Twitter?
I always post everything
I
I
don't
post. I
open
post
Twitter.
on Twitter. We get zero likes, zero shares.
Twitter's dead,
Occasionally,
dude.
Comedy Central fucking likes
Yeah.
the video.
I don't know. I think Twitter, like, and from my bubble, Twitter's dead. But nobody I know is on Twitter. None of my friends or family is on Twitter. So, like, for me, it's just dead. Anyway, give us a like, give us a follow wherever you get your podcasts. This is also available in audio format. If you're listening on audio, this is also available on video format. Go to the YouTube, give us a subscription there. If you're listening on video, go to your podcast app of choice, give us a follow there, and don't forget to 5-star review that bad boy. Give us a review, leave us a rating.
Yes, please. Also, share it on your stories on Instagram.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? This
keep
really
posting.
helps out, man.
Repost. Yeah, we are seeing some pretty significant and consistent growth, so we really appreciate that.
Oh my God,
we
yes.
have a lot of stuff planned. We made it to episode 25. Just want to again thank everybody for their support, their continued support. Our downloads are still going strong. Our growth is still going strong. So we appreciate that and don't want to take that for granted.
Yes, and we do still want to start a Patreon at 100 subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
We gained 13 in the past 3 days, so we're getting there.
We're getting there. So
we're
give
like
us a
80
subscription
something.
so that we can start a Patreon.
And so we'll start this Patreon at 100. Everything goes to the podcast. We don't take any money. Any extra money that we get will be donated to the Palestinian cause.
And then, as always, go out there and join a local political org. We recommend Communist Party USA, but there's PSL, there's FRSO, there's a whole bunch of there's DSA if that's all you got in your area. Although we'd recommend something a little more radical than DSA. If nothing else, go find a mutual aid group. Google mutual aid and then enter your city name, or to go get some homeless outreach going, go volunteer, do something.
Go protest.
Go protest.
Go, it's fun.
Yeah, at the
grab
very
a little flag and wave it around. You know,
go buy a Palestinian flag on Amazon for $7 or whatever, and then go take it.
Don't buy a Palestinian flag from Amazon. Buy a Palestinian flag. If you can
from a Palestinian, go find a Palestinian company or like a local vendor or something in your neighborhood. If you can't, it's all you can afford is like $7-8. Amazon has I forget the name of it. It's like Breezely or something. All of these flags are from Amazon. I'm not ashamed to admit because I'm poor and they're very cheap.
Yeah, man.
I never steamed them like I promised I would. They're still kind of wrinkled, but it's fine.
It's the texture. It adds a little bit of a little bit of.
And also, lastly, send us an email. I don't really remember why anymore, but send us an email if you ever want to chat or whatever. Just say, hey, man, it's revolutionarypod@gmail.com. Revolutionary rhetoric.
I was about to say.
I forgot the rhetoric. That's the whole point. That's the whole talking point. That's the point.
Yeah, if you made it this far in the video, leave a comment below just to get the algorithm below.
And we do respond to those comments. Although largely I've stopped reading Instagram comments because anytime we do leftist content on Instagram, it's just great comments. Anytime we make fun of right-wing stuff,
dude,
the fucking trolls come out, dude. It's so funny because we could talk about like left-wing theory or like solidarity or like whatever, and it's just all this like love and support and just like supportive comments. And then anytime we like, if God forbid we talk shit on Ben Shapiro or whatever, holy shit. the fucking internet trolls come around.
Of course, the white fat fucks want to make fun of Candace
people keep calling us fat, and I'm like, for one thing, I got chicken arms legs. I'm not fat, dude. All right, sit down. Yeah, and this dude goes to the gym like 9 times a week. So like, all right, calm down.
No. I'm a thick boy.
You're a thick boy, but
I'm a thick boy.
But it's muscle. You're cultivating mass.
I'm a strong thick boy. Okay, but I just genetically also just have like a really like fat neck.
I think I got face fat, but I'm chicken armed and leg, dude. I'm pretty.
No,
thin.
you're literally not fat, bro. No. Like you're like if you lost 10 pounds, I'd be like you have to eat more.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
No, it did not hurt my feelings. I am immune to internet comments.
Here's the thing. A lot of people let this really get to them.
No.
But like the moment they stop replying with a comment trying to argue or reason with you that they are correct, and the moment they start
go to like an ad hoc,
just fucking like, oh, well, you guys are fucking fat.
Yeah.
Well, he's like, the fat people are talking.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you have nothing of context to say, so I'm just gonna take it as
we
I
call
win.
That an ad hoc, or no, an ad. What's it called? The fallacy. The fucking it's an ad hoc fallacy, right? When it's a personal attack.
Yeah, I believe so.
It's one of the like debate tactics of like you've lost a debate when you attack.
Attack. You're ugly.
Yeah, it's like okay, well you've lost all credibility, and I don't take any of these comments personally, but I've just noticed that anytime we criticize right wing,
fat. It's always like the first thing they say.
It's either fat phobic or like body shaming, or it's classist, like get a job or whatever, and it's just like, and that also is very telling of the right wing in general.
Like all the time, it's like of course the white men. And I'm just like, why does that matter? This is insane. This is like, so if like a guy just happens or a person just happens to be white, like they can't have a podcast.
They can't have a political opinion.
Yeah.
And I get that. Like, sure, like there should be more spaces for non-white people.
Dude, YouTube. Anybody can start a YouTube.
But also,
podcast.
We also advocate for people of color.
100%.
Yeah. So like, I don't really understand your point there. Anyway, we've been rambling for a while. I'm gonna end this audio, but. It was a great episode. Thanks so much for episode 25, everyone. We'll see you next time. We'll have an update on this UN ceasefire in a week, and we'll see how that's going.
Okay. Yes.
Bye.
Bye.